the world. Well. Someone didn't learn that lesson from spring, huh?
Learn something from you. You're not the new king, what are you saying? There's no crown for losing and playing. A ticket to Iceland didn't make you the best, just less of a failure than all the rest. Samurai and MSI, yeah, we took the trophy. Gold standard for the champ, supposed to be peak league ain't EU.
Peak league is G2.
This ain't best of one, boy. Hold the disrespect. Wreck with best of fives, yeah, we're gonna break your neck. Looking hella good, teams playing no PETA. Beat so bad you think I'm a cheetah. Comparing our jungles like damn son. Don't call it a gap, it's a canyon. No map packs, we're just stacked. Jaeger's pathing, it's just cracked. Flash in the pan, you understand. You had your shot, never get it again. Carzzy is bad, Kaiser is worse. Armament is dying, go get the nurse. Or even better, get humanoids first. Repeating some lines you aren't worth a new verse.
It's a bad time, you resign, cries mine in the bloodline. I'm an apex feline, you're on the decline. Got the rhyme, let's just find nothing but a mid at a receding hairline. You are a joke, can't let us smite. You're just a dog that's a bark and no bite. I am the best, you are the clown. Show some respect to my dad of the crown. They call him reckless, but he should rename the KDA. Our boy Carzzy always blowing up like Michael Bay. Stay in lane and your screen will soon be going grey. You're nothing but old news, so get out of my way. Used to be the best in every role and now you're slipping. Gonna need to take a look across the pond for positions. You can get a couple million but we'll always think you're free. You're so good at taking L's you could manage COG.
You think you want this fight, but you really don't. Last chance, better call your mama, cause you're gonna get hit by Saitama. 1 punch, 3-0, then we're coming for our trophy like Repo. Win one, you got an ego, but beating Rogue, that's a free throw. That's a weak joke, you got no hope. Full strength, G2 better not choke. Top lane is running it. Running from lane, know that he done it. 2 deep on side, know that we stunning him. Counting the throws, they keep on coming in. Is he Carzzy or crazy? Mostly looks lazy, mostly just insit, he'll never phase me. You're a rookie, he lacks a finesse. Watching him play is just pain without S. Carzzy can't keep up, you know what the truth is. Sport is OP, but that boy is useless. Poor little Merrick, Lord knows he tries, but in the end, humanoid dies. SKT Season 6, no impact. Caps Magi's every game, yeah we get stacks. Try trading in lane, that's a quick back. Trash talking on our name, you go eat that. This ain't a rivalry, this is a charity. More like a show match with so much disparity. Think you're a challenge for a god, we'll reverse it. You're just a dog, better bark when the source hit.
Hate the way you see when looking down at me. Your inability to recognize me as a real rivalry. Just ego and fame frustrating. Your is debating. There should be no debating. I'll be coming for the final lap battle. Is a cycle always fire, but the title will be mine. You can cry, don't be shy. I wanna retry. Use the die, get the black tie. Say goodbye. This is it. I'm a Mr. Nice Guy. I saw you getting hyphy when Reckless joined the team. Instead, you lost your trophy and you just became a meme. I wonder if one is done with his rap thunder. A power one trick that makes nothing but blunders. He's a perfect player to feel the hunger. The TCO check and we bring in the thunder. Hidden in the shroud, making round doesn't make a sound. Knife to the throat of the joker. Calico Gurk, Calico to work. Humanoid about to put caps in the dirt. Bald head, wrist weak, bad eyes, you've peaked. Sad times, meta slave, climbing your grave. Truth is you're irrelevant, completely devoid of elegance. Your experiments to replace perks have only left you with this excrement. It's evident the sentiment has shifted to our development. I am the king, follow my ping, be grateful that I'm benevolent. I'm done with you, you're brainless. I'm on the road to greatness. You claim you're good, outrageous. I promise this won't be painless.
Dude, you can't insult Reckless like that.
But you are so mean to humanoids.
He's beautiful, he's not used to being insulted.
Beautiful now.
Definitely not what I said.
Hey. What? Seriously, how good is this rap song? They absolutely smashed it once again. I'm genuinely impressed by Various speed on the rapping here. I thought for me Dracos was always the fastest one, but Various brought the heat on that one. There's some really good bars. But welcome everyone to the podcast. I am your host, Matt Scott, and this is Inside Fnatic's Brush, the podcast that's back from vacation. Took a bit of a break, had to go resource myself to the beach. Don't know if you can see some of the tan, it's probably gone most of it, but yeah, and actually good timing because 2 weeks ago was the last week of regular season, so no games last week, and tomorrow, well starting tomorrow, we have round 1 of playoffs, so great timing for the podcast to talk about what happened 2 weeks ago, last week of summer split, sorry, I don't know. So as usual, we have our topics on the right hand side with final standings of the LEC, and Vitality, surprisingly, being the sixth team taking the spot here, beating out Astralis and Excel. So we'll talk a bit about that. Question of the day is wondering if Fnatic and still make Worlds. Obviously, they're starting in the lower bracket, so they have quite a lot of best of fives they're gonna have to go through before being even able to qualify for Worlds. So a bit of a difficult situation. We'll talk about what you guys had to say about this. Obviously, we'll mention Fnatic's games from week 8, a 1-2 super week. Bit disappointing, losing games against Misfits and Mad Lions, and a game against Schalke that wasn't that impressive personally. So we'll talk about this, and we'll look into this week's predictions. So first round of playoffs. Cool. With that said, let's jump right into the LEC. Let me just make sure I have the right elements in front of my eyes here. What's the song called? That's the Verius and Dracos rap. It's just been released today, and they have a sort of mini series of what they call mediocre rap battles, and every time they just keep improving their level. It's quite impressive, and this time they made it Mad Lions versus G2, and they have some really, really good bars on that one. Even if you're not necessarily a fan of rap style songs, it's definitely worth a listen. They're quite impressive. These guys are just casters initially, and they're rapping like legit. Anyways, with that said, final standings as you have in front of your eyes, we have our top 6 team with Rogue being the first seed, followed. So I'm not sure if that's the exact order. I believe it is. G2 second, Mad Lions third, Misfits fourth. So they will be competing for the upper bracket, and Fnatic and Vitality being the lower bracket starters. First, I actually want to mention Vitality's sort of resurgence in week 8. Throughout Summer Split, they really had a bit of difficulties getting some wins. It felt like most of the time the wins came through self-made, just basically outperforming anyone on the enemy team and having to sort of drag Vitality over the finish line. Sometimes you'll have one lane that managed to do well, usually would be around Crown Shot, but they managed to win some crucial games. One of them against Rogue, if I'm not mistaken. That was on Saturday, right? Let me just check. I have the right results here. Schedule. Let me see. Yeah, it was against Rogue on Saturday. So it kind of put obviously Excel in a bad situation, because Excel lost against Rogue the day before, and Vitality won their game against Schalke, which was a bit of an easier schedule for them. But then going against Rogue, it felt like basically Astralis had all the keys to win, and Vitality not only beat Rogue, but they also beat Astralis, which I personally thought Astralis was going to be the team to qualify here. Hey Azrael, thank you for tuning in while you're watching LFL and multitasking. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so actually Vitality, quite surprisingly, managed to secure a 3-0 final week on top of Excel and Astralis. A bit surprised by Astralis that dropped the ball against Team Vitality. I thought that Astralis was a bit more consistent throughout the split. I absolutely agree, Kiki. I thought they sort of came together during the summer split, even like surprising some top teams. or going very, very close, like when they played against G2. G2 really struggled, taking the victory against them. So XL obviously had the tougher schedule, having to face the likes of Rogue and G2, games they unfortunately lost. So for me, it was more for Astralis to take the final spot than really XL or what do you call it, or Vitality. And Vitality, like, surprisingly, just felt like a complete different team, right? It felt there was more synergy between the players, in my opinion, and it didn't feel it was just self-made going 1v9. I think for the first time, we actually saw Litter being a relevant mid laner when he's just been the weakest point of this team ever since the beginning of the split, and is easily, I think, sorry about that helicopter here, is easily, so far probably the worst mid laner we have in the league, in my opinion. Like I would easily rate Nuclear Int above Litter. That's from my point of view. Obviously, I don't even play mid lane to start with, so this is just me talking from what I understand of the games. I don't know if you guys can agree on that one, but yeah, it's interesting to see Vitality, and I think that sort of brings back the competitive aspect of the playoffs as they're going to face Fnatic on Sunday, where it feels maybe it's going to be a bit closer than it should be, and maybe not as much as a stomp as the two best of ones against Fnatic have been. So we'll have to see how both teams kind of have prepared throughout the sort of 2 weeks before the beginning of playoffs, and if we're going to get the same level of result that we had during the best of ones. With that said, there's two other interesting elements. Is G2 really been resurging on the past few weeks. They had another 3-0. Well, they had a 3-0 week. And they're obviously a bit of, again, easier schedule going against XL, Schalke. They did beat Mad Lions in what was a really bloodbath game. It felt like each team was winning at the same time, and then there was just that small little thing, that small little play that made it go in G2's sort of orientation. And I think G2 is definitely a bit more on the path of probably winning it all. As much as I hate having to say this as a Fnatic fan, they do look quite convincing right now. And even the Schalke game was they struggled a bit, but they still managed to win. So it feels like definitely like fixing things. Like even the Excel game, actually, when I think about it, the Excel game was more in Excel's favor, and I think Excel went a bit too far. What was it, in some area of the engage on bot lane? They extended the fight, trying to catch G2 off, and what happened is that G2 completely flipped the game. They took that team fight, they won it. I believe there was a TP flank, and yeah, they overplayed their hand, and unfortunately, I think that's really what cost them the qualification for playoffs. So yeah, a bit of a shame for XL, to be honest, because I think for the first time in a long time they looked like an exciting team that could have been a credible playoff team. And when they first brought in Advian and Marcoon, and they got their 2-0 week, it felt like they were in the right direction. But they lost some games that they shouldn't have against lower bracket teams, and eventually that made it into this sort of infernal week 8 situation where Astralis, Vitality, even SK, I believe, and Excel were all in the same basket to get that final spot, and it would just take maybe 1 or 2 games to completely flip the situation and decide which of these 4 teams would take 6 for the playoffs round. So yeah, unfortunate for Excel. We'll have to see what team they have next year. I hope they keep Markun and Advian. Potentially keep Nukedog. He looked like he was playing way better when Markun and Advian was in. Like Patrick is still a decent ADC. He's not as clutch as he used to be. But unless I'm thinking about something, right? I'm just projecting really far. Unless Excel can potentially get someone of the likes of Xmati, let's say, right? Xmati, who's in K Corp in the LFL, who's been on Fnatic Rising before, and who is just an outstanding ADC in my personal view. I think they could get a really solid team, to be honest. But that's something to talk about in the off season. We'll see what really happens here. Rogue, while they obviously lost against an invigorated Vitality, they still like the top team so far. We'll have to see if they're a bit more structured in a best of 5 and they don't throw like they did for last splits finals. And Misfits they can challenge, I'm sure. Like, obviously Rogue has the better players overall, I would say, right? But Misfits, I'm sure, can upset a few games. I still think Rogue is going to take the best of 5, right? But with that said, I don't think it would be too much of a surprise if we see Misfits maybe upsetting Rogue. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Yeah, and obviously, maybe final word here is about Fnatic. And unfortunately, starting in the lower bracket. We'll talk more about it a bit further down, but it's really a shame what happened. Losing, pretty much throwing games against Misfits and SK 3 weeks ago, and putting ourselves in a much more difficult situation than it needs to be. But yeah, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, those are your top 6 to watch. Starting tomorrow, we have Rogue Misfits. On Saturday, we will have G2 Mad Lions. And on Sunday, we will have our game, Fnatic versus Vitality. Which brings me to our question of the day. I asked you guys if you think that Fnatic can still make Worlds. Obviously, the reason of that question is very simple. It's, as you can see on the screenshot of the bracket that's awaiting Fnatic, we're going to have to run a hell of a gauntlet because we need to get at least, that's just to qualify for Worlds, at least to that final part where you have G2 or Rogue. It's going to be very, very hard. I personally expect us to win against Vitality. I think, obviously, we will... There's a high chance, basically, we face Misfits on the second round, right? We've lost both games of the split, but by throwing. So now it's kind of up in the air, right? Because it's like, oh, well, Fnatic was just throwing. It's a best of 1. Right. What happens if we just throw all the time? Or on another game, this time Misfits actually win their games, right? So you can't even guarantee in that aspect that, it'll be a bit of a better environment, a better structure, because if we throw a game, well, we still have a chance to go again, right? So for me, it's really going to depend on the way we play against Vitality, right? What type of Fnatic are we showing against Vitality? Have we caught up on obviously the meta and the sort of lack of practice that we've had, that Yamato said we've had because of the vaccines and stuff like this. So scrims that have been cancelled, stuff like this, or is it really that we're struggling right now, or teams have figured the way we play? So let's say we win against Vitality, we win against Misfits. Now we go against Mad Lions. Now the games we lost against Mad Lions, they weren't necessarily froze. It's just Mad Lions kind of playing a bit better, and I feel like we're doing unforced errors on our side quite a bit, where we try to push for objectives or vision. Like there's a lot of times where Hylissang will dive to clear a pink ward that's around like the blue brush, that brush that's just in front of that corner, right? So again, it's best of ones, best of fives. Everything can happen. Now, if we face Mad Lions, that will be a second best of five that we do in the same week, right? Because on round 2, on lower bracket, what happens is that the game on Friday is the first game of lower bracket. The game on Saturday is the sort of upper bracket finals, and then on Sunday it's round 3 of lower bracket, right? So obviously there's how do you call it? There's an advantage for Mad Lions who can prepare much better. And then once we get to third place, well, I do believe at this stage, regardless of what teams are in that final sort of square, it will qualify us to Worlds, right? But the path is very long. The path is very long. So personally, it's hard to say. Okay, there's a side of me that wants to believe that we really struggled with the vaccine, and it kind of countered the momentum and the practice that we usually had. And just paraphrasing Yamato here, and that having sort of a week and a half, 2 weeks of practice in between will help us sort of catch up with the meta, get up to date, and play a better form of League than we showcased on the last 2 weeks of regular season, right? Other part of me is like, I don't know if we get past the sort of second round of playoffs, basically, because that's a really hard task. It's too much of a gauntlet, and there's going to be burnout. There's going to be prep advantage for the teams that are ahead of us, and are we the type of team that can surpass those type of challenges? I'm not really sure. So I'm kind of torn. In between. What's as well said. If we play like we did at the end, it's rest in peace. But we'll probably go past it. I agree. We need to stop the weird draft. Hello, Rengar. Yep. If we play at our best, we can beat everyone. We have the player, the knowledge. I don't know about everyone. I think we can beat a majority of teams. We also have a lot of flaws. That'll be huge in our run. Can we fix it or not? Absolutely. I just feel like the team have adapted to the playstyle we had developed in the middle of the split, so we need to have more ways of playing, or the same will happen before the end of the playoffs. I agree on that point. I do believe that there's, well, obviously there's an apparent lack of practice and being up to date on the meta. I think there's also an issue on the way we're playing that's kind of one-dimensional, and we've got it figured out. So what I've done is I've actually posted on Reddit, and I'm going to look at some of your guys' take. Just as a quick announcement, I forgot to add voice capture on this next part, so give me 2 seconds while I set this up. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. Right, so made a little poll, if you guys can see this, where basically there was 4 choices. It's, do you think they can win Worlds? So, oh, sorry, do you think they can still make it to Worlds? And it's like, yes, I actually think they're going to make LEC, or yes, I think they're going to qualify, so make top 3 or top 2, but they're not going to win the LEC, unfortunately. And the final one being, sorry, the final 2 is you don't think they're going to make it, but the reason being is too much of a burnout, too many best of 5s basically. And the final one is that no, we're not even like top 3. So basically, the moment we face Mad Lions, we just get smashed, right? Something like that. So I'm gonna have a look at some. No comments yet. That is not right. That is not right. Let me just refresh that. There we go. So gonna have a quick look here. Are those by best? Top. Let's see, top. Is it gonna put them by? Okay. I'm gonna take like the top 3, maybe top 5 most upvoted comments, and yeah, talk about that. Cool. So we have from Tananino or Tananino. Thank you for your comments. Huge unknowns are Adam and Bwipo in jungle. In terms of playoffs, Fnatic can win against the best, like they have shown during regular season. The momentum is not with us, but I hope the team can steadily gain it through the lower bracket. It would be a disaster if Misfits somehow won against Rogue, as that would mean Fnatic would have to win against Magi too, and then Rogue to make it to Worlds. Normal path would be Vitality, Misfits, Mads, or G2. I think on a good day Fnatic can do it. Question is, will it be a good day or not? Hoping for Fnatic playoff buff with upset wife buff. Very important, the upset wife buff. That's a very good point. To come online. So yeah, that's. I'm actually happy. There's a lot of elements that I've spoken before that Tananino is mentioning here. So already on the same wavelength. Very happy to see that. There's a few good points here. Is that if Misfits do make the surprise here, it will be an even harder schedule going forward. I do believe that we need to steadily come back to our high level, and an easier schedule for us, which indeed would be obviously Vitality, but then having Misfits and potentially whoever Mad or G2 in between both of them would give us better time to prep and adapt to the recent sort of meta changes. Obviously, the upset wife buff, big plus for us. So maybe that's our security here of not losing in and actually probably even winning LEC, to be honest, guys. Like let's not kid ourselves. Definitely a big chance for us to win that. Yeah. Still think we'll win EU. So some people are. It's because yeah. So I also did the poll on Twitter. Most of you guys, there's a bit more of hopium here of winning the LEC. at least the majority of people here were actually saying that we were still qualified, but unfortunately not necessarily make LEC. Just looking here. Here's the deal. I think they can win LEC, but at the same time, I think no, they're not top 3 team. Yeah, see that. That's exactly it. Is that maybe we're back to being a bit too coin flip, which is a bit of an unfortunate situation, to be honest. But I think here the key is to be back to come to some level of consistency. Obviously. With the Warmog saying, I'm at the point where actually I'm not sure. We had good regular split where we were just ruffle stomping everyone, then we had those last 2 weeks where Spring Fnatic showed up again. Absolutely. If they sort their shit and pack it together, we can. If not, it's going to end up like Spring or worse. And that's the thing. We come to it again. It's how well is Fnatic going to prep in those 2 weeks, right? So obviously we had the vaccines in the sort of 2 weeks that led to the end of the regular season, which again, according to Yamato, it hurt the quality of training. Now this is out of the way. There's been in between birthdays, I believe, and the wedding and things like this. Now there's still a week and a half to prep until then. I believe they started either Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So I think that's I don't know how many teams or who they've scrimmed, but at least they've come back to a regular rhythm of scrimming, which potentially is what made their success. So are we going to go back to some regularity? Are we going to go back to some level of macro that we used to have, where we used to play the map rather well? Or are we just going to be in a sort of rubber banding, patching situation where, you know, we're going to have a play style and then we get figured out by round 2 and we can make into that top 3. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of uncertainty from people commenting. ZZZ saying, I'm only afraid of desperation plays when it comes to game 3s. Scratch that, I'm only afraid of desperation plays. If they remain calm and collected, I think they will do decent. And if I don't know if for whoever's watching right now, I don't know how many there are of you. There's 10 people according to Twitch. So of all 10 people watching, I don't know if you guys have checked the recent voice comms. And if you compare them to the ones of like the rest of the split, there's a bit more emotion, let's say. We've come back to a bit more like scrambled calls, and it's a bit like we've lost the principles, the famous principles of Yamato, you know, to sort of dial it back down, calm the game, and, you know, play together, things like this. I think we need to come back to this, because when we were following those, if you listen to, you know, start/middle of the season, of the split, sorry, I should say, I've never heard a team be so calm, where they're talking at a very low voice, they're not screaming, everyone seems to be on the same wavelength. There was a bit more panic calls. I mean, you look at the Twisted Fate TP against SK, like SK is a smart player, right? So I think there's a bit of mental boom in there, you know. Just gonna look at final comments from Pedrex21. I have an opinion on this. Great, that's what we're here for. I think that if Fnatic plays like they play for the majority of the summer split, they're easily Mad, Art, Rogue, G2 tier. The thing is, that's really, really close top 4 in my opinion. I can see every team making to World or winning the whole thing on their good days, but Fnatic was, in my opinion, the best team in summer on their good days. If Fnatic's coin lands on the good side, they win the LEC. But if they land on the bad side, the worst team out of Rogue, Mad, G2 most likely eliminates them, or even Misfits. Yeah, and again, the level of practice that they need to have is going to be, in my opinion, like in terms of quality, it needs to be very high for them to make sure that the coin always lands on the right side, because there's very, very strong teams at the top. Mad is probably one of the best team fighting teams. G2 is resurging and really getting to the level that we expect from a team with the caliber of players that they have. And Rogue are just macro geniuses, where they have some of the best early games and they're very structured in their way of playing. And to the point where you can't just go full crazy on them and expect to win it. So yeah, it's those titans you have to face, and then obviously the fact that in between there's probably going to be misfits, and if you consider our record against misfits, well, it's not positive. And then you can say, well, Matt Scott, we just lost because we're throwing. I'm like, okay, but what tells you we're not going to throw again? Or that we're just plainly going to lose against misfits, right? So yeah, it's kind of all these elements. It's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, some good takes here, some interesting takes. Thank you very much for everyone who participated on the Reddit. 1.2k votes though, that's quite impressive. I did not expect so many people to vote on this, but thank you very much. Thank you very much. I will definitely be doing more of those. And for anyone that's watching right now, always open to get your takes in. So yeah, that kind of sets it for the question of the day, to be honest. Like, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one for sure. Look at the Rogue game; they just read everything from minute one. I mean, that's another point actually. You know what? That's perfect, Ezra. I'm just going to transition straight away to the Fnatic topic, because what was it? Is that my concern? While Bwipo has shown to adapt rather well in general in the jungle role, I'm kind of concerned on, how would I say this, on his adaptability against very smart junglers. And I'm thinking about Inspired, I'm thinking about Jankos. Even Razork has shown that he's improved quite a bit. But for me, like Inspired and Jankos, yeah, as much as people love to meme Jankos, for me he's like one of the smartest junglers in the league. He really manages to read enemy junglers at a very high level, and you have Inspired that just is even better than that. He, in our game against Rogue, it was just, you could almost think this guy was actually stream sniping. He had a little monitor and he was seeing everything that was happening, because it was scary how well he'd guess Whipple would be on the map. So that's one concern. But let's talk quickly, obviously, about the games from week 8. 1 and 2. Oh, sorry, 2. Yeah, 1 and. What am I saying? 1 and 2 week. Yeah, 1 win, 2 losses. There we go. The first game against Misfits. Now, I was really disappointed, right? Because I thought we were going to come in much stronger after the 0-2 week, and we started really well. Good map pressure using the globals with Twisted Fate, and then what happens? We take one bad team fight after the other, and we just hand the game to Misfits, who, when they have the lead, play much smarter than we do, in that sense, where, I don't know, either we get too ambitious and too overzealous, where it's like, oh, we have the lead, we have to snowball, instead of just having map pressure without having to kill anyone or going into team fights. Just put vision, just help on wave management, invade camps. I mean, just choke the enemy team without having to result in kills, you know. And I think that's what we're missing, is that we're too bloodthirsty, and basically enemy teams don't have to do anything to win against us. They're like, oh, we're losing, but because Fnatic has quite of an advantage, they're just going to feel compelled to come at us, and we just have to lay back and basically receive their aggression and send it back to them. So yeah. And then the game against Mad Lions, I had to watch the Mad Lions game quite a few times to try to make sense of what happened, to be honest. Because, like, if you watch the game, right, it doesn't feel like a stomp. But the final result, right, if you look in like pure stats, it's 27 kills to 13, it's 10 towers to 3, it's 2 barons to 0, and it's only the dragons that are close, right? And there's a over 10k difference in the end. But for some reason it felt much closer than that, right? But still, there's just it wasn't a throw, it was just just basically bad team fights over and over. Bless me. Without having the necessary leads that we have when we usually force this. And then we had the game against Schalke, which I was kind of scared, to be honest. We got a very, very good early lead, right, against Schalke, and I was like, oh my god, we're too far ahead. We're going to eventually throw it at some point, right? And I believe we got an inhib before 20 minutes, and usually want to avoid those kind of situations of opening an inhib before 20 minutes, because what happens there is that they just get free resources and there's nothing on the map, right? There's no Baron attempt that you can pressure. Drake is not necessarily up, and even if it's up, it's like a temporary buff until you get Soul, because Soul is at minimum, like 25-26 minutes if you tempo the Drake perfectly. So like we won, right? But I believe it took us until the 30th minute basically to win this. So it was a bit like, a win is a win, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm happy that we won, but I felt like we lacked that sort of conclusiveness, if that's a word. Being like, okay, we took an inhib very early. How do we make sure that we keep like stomping them? Like basically they cannot make a step out of their base without dying or losing more again, right? So for me, it was like, obviously we played it safe, which is good. We played a bit more controlled, which is one you want to see. But when you're pushing for a lead that early and you're going for a very, very early inhib, you want to close, I'd say, before 25 minutes. But yeah, so all in all, not really satisfied with the last 2 weeks. Yamato has mentioned, issues with training, vaccine taking a toll on players and staff. Now, we have shown that we can be a very good team, and even one of the best teams. There's been a bit of a meta change on the past few weeks, with Syndra, for instance, having a bit more prio. Now, where do we go from here, right? Do we manage to fit in Syndra into our comps? do we adapt our playstyle and not go back to our over-aggressive, what looks kind of brainless attempts of getting a lead? Or do we go on the complete other side where it's like, well, week 7 and week 8 is actually our style, and teams are going to know exactly how to play against us. So the fact there's obviously 2 weeks of unknown before we go into first round of playoffs puts a lot in the air. And I think we can start making conclusions of where Fnatic is sitting after a best of 5 against Vitality. So it's hard for me to put some expectations on playoffs without me just being full prediction and saying, in the perfect world, Fnatic beat Vitality, they beat probably Misfits, which would be the second team they'd face, and then they have a very close best of 5 against Mad Lions, right? I'm just hoping that we've put enough practice that on Sunday we not only just win, we actually crush Vitality the way we've crushed them in the regular season, and say like, yo, we sucked in the last 2 weeks, but Fnatic is back and you better prepare against us, right? So a week and a half of prep to catch up on the meta, to be up to date, to get back that momentum. Let's say we win against Vitality. That means an extra week to prepare. And how do we go into that round 2? And do we prepare well enough? So, yeah. Right now I'm just hoping, instead of really predicting or expecting the way we should play, is that I hope that the issues that we had in terms of preparation and how would I say that, working towards the meta and drafting for it have been fixed, have been addressed. Yamato has said in his tweet that like, we have spotted our issues, we know how to fix them. Cool. Now show it. Show us that you can fix these issues, and take us to Worlds. Yeah, take us to Worlds. So yeah, I mean, I think there is some tilt factor when we're not feeling confident. I think that's kind of what we've seen in the last 2 weeks. That there was this lack of confidence in the players, probably because they know they didn't practice enough, so they didn't feel as solid as they should have been. And there's been a lot of misplays, things like this. And yeah, like especially Niski. I think Niski's quite prone to tilt, and that affects his gameplay. Because usually he's very good. He's very good. He's been one of our best players, I'd say, during the season, to be honest. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to our game against Vitality. Especially if Vitality is looking a bit more competitive. It should put a bit more of a challenge to us. So I hope we're up to the challenge, and it's like, yo, this sort of beefed up Vitality from week 8. We're not afraid of it, and we just smashed them 3-0. So yeah, fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. You know, with that said, let's have a quick look at the predictions that we have. I'm luckily still ahead of you guys, of the community, just by 1 point. But pretty straightforward for this. Niski or Whipwood tilts easily. I'd say maybe Niski. But actually, I mean, okay, so the reason why I say that is that when you hear him talk, or sometimes you look at his streams, he gets, I don't know, a bit excited. Let's see, you know. If he's always going like, oh, but by the way, what is this, by the way? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a meme, but like, I don't know. I have this personal feeling. I'm not saying he does actually tilt. It's just the impression that I get. that he would be prone to tilt. But maybe he's not. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, which is a possibility. You know, I'm this is really me just, I don't know. Like, if you hear the voice comms, he talks a bit fast, he talks a bit loud. So usually it's Upset who has to tell people to stay calm, you know, after like a team fight or a big play. You know, so yeah, that's just me. But yeah, so round 1 of playoffs. Very straightforward. I think the expectations are set here, with Rogue being the best team. Probably a 3-1, maybe a 3-2 if Misfits, you know, come in strong. G2 versus Mad, I think that's also going to be a 5 game. But I think G2 is looking much better. I personally think G2 is going to look very scary and is easily going to make a playoffs final run. You know, like they'll go into upper bracket finals, and I'd even say there's a high chance they win against Rogue on a best of 5. I wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, Fnatic versus Vitality. You know, you gotta hope that Fnatic brings their A game. They gotta win this one, dude. They gotta win it, because it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. So it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet for Fnatic. I hope they are up to the challenge. I think it's actually good to have a coach like Yamato at the helm to manage emotions and make sure that there's no mental boom in what's going to be a very long month of August for guys in orange and black. So, due to back in form for sure. Absolutely. Like, if I was a betting man, I might put some money on G2 to win the split. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I wouldn't be surprised. It would suck, but I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this, guys. That's my 2 cents on this. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to add, to be honest. Obviously a bit shorter predictions because there's less games. So yeah, I think that's going to conclude our episode of Inside Fnatic's Brush. Week 8 of LEC Summer Split, guys. Tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, round 1 of playoffs. Make sure to tune in at least on Sunday. Fingers crossed for our boys to show the greatest level they can. And let's see if we get any surprises. Let's see if Misfits maybe beat Rogue. Let's see if Mad Lions take it to G2. What do you guys think? Let me know. If you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments. I need some interaction. Actually, I haven't uploaded on YouTube for quite some time. I'm going to do that tonight, guys. I mean, there's at least 3, maybe 4 episodes of this one that I need to upload. So obviously you have the VOD on Always Fnatic, but I know some people have told me they prefer watching it on YouTube. It's a bit easier for them. So yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. It's IFB Podcast. You will find it easily. But that's it for today, guys. As usual, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for participating in the chat. Always love to have interactions. As usual, this podcast is open for you guys if you want to come on board and have a chat with me, and not just typing, as in actual talking. Don't hesitate. Don't be shy. If I can do it, you can do it. Like, I'm in front of the camera. I have to show this beautiful face to 10 people, which is not a lot. So you're just behind your screen and there's just your beautiful voice. So imagine the great duo we would make. In any case, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you next Thursday for the recap of round 1 and talking about round 2. Until then, always Fnatic, guys. Thank you and see ya.